You're listening to the AmWritingFantasy podcast. In today's publishing landscape, you can reach fans all over the world. Query letters are a thing of the past. You don't even need a literary agent. There is nothing standing in the way of making a living from writing. Join two best-selling authors who have self-published more than 20 books between them. Now, on to the show with your hosts, Autumn Burt and Jesper Schmidt.
Hello, I'm Jesper.
And I'm Autumn.
This is episode 91 of the AmWritingFantasy podcast. And you probably come across the advice to write every day many times before. That's something we've all heard. There are also those who say that you should have a daily word count. But is it so? We are going to reflect on that topic today and discuss daily word counts.
I'm looking forward to it because this was, even though I do this podcast, topic was coming up. Unrelated to that, I recently had some very deep reflection on word counts and how it affected my writing, and I think it does. So I look forward to when we get into the topics. But first, the odyssey of your house selling and your life. How are things over in Denmark?
Oh, it's good. It's good. By the way, I think it's the first time I've heard somebody say deep reflections about word count. I don't think I've ever heard that sentence said before. But
I love being original, so that's great.
Yeah, no, everything is good over here. Nothing new to report on the house selling front. We're still waiting for those other people to sell their own place first, so God knows when that'll happen, but hopefully, I still, fingers crossed, still hope that it won't take too long, but who knows?
Yes, hopefully this is not as long as the Odyssey was, and you don't have a 10-year wait. All right, we're waiting patiently.
Yeah, but actually I was thinking it's been a bit of a while since I told one of my referee stories.
Oh, excellent.
And considering how bad things turned out 2 weeks ago, I was thinking that maybe it was a good story for today.
Oh, perfect. I would love to hear it.
Yeah, well, things just goes crazy sometimes with these matches. And
oh, no.
I had a match 2 weeks ago, which it was played with, much intensity. And it was pretty physical as well, in the sense that they were tackling each other pretty hard, and I also had to issue a few yellow cards and so on.
My gosh.
That's what happens, right? But so we play 90 minutes in a soccer match, and by the 80th minute, the home team had been in the lead with 1-0 for almost the entire match. I think they scored like after 10 minutes or something like that. So basically, we had 10 minutes to go, and they had been leading 1-0 all the way through, and basically in control of the match as such. But then in the last 10 minutes, the away team equalized.
Oh, this is getting exciting.
Yeah, and then of course intensity rose quite a lot. And we got into overtime, so that's within the last 2 minutes of the game, where it's still 1-1. And then within those last 2 minutes, I awarded the penalty kick to the away team.
Oh.
And yeah, you can imagine how upset the home team got.
Oh yeah,
so they were extremely angry. They were complaining and yelling, and the spectators on the sidelines were not very happy either. And they probably felt that it was an unfair ruling. But I still stand by the fact that there was a penalty kick, so that was awarded. And especially when you give a penalty kick in the last dying minutes of a match, it will determine the winner in this case, right?
Yeah.
Obviously the emotions are running high now. And the away team scored.
Oh no.
And shortly after that, I blew the whistle and ended the match. So the away team actually won after having been behind almost all the way through.
Oh my gosh.
There was a lot of angry faces and shouting and all that kind of thing going on. And then, afterwards, the teams convene at the center of the pitch, and which is customary as per fair play rules of the game, that you convene at the center to just say thank you for the match to the other team. And of course, that didn't go too well because they were pretty angry.
Oh, no.
And I was sort of standing there and, looking at some players who were standing in front of me just because they were not too friendly. So I just wanted to make sure that everything was okay. And then behind me, I all of a sudden hear a lot of commotion.
Oh, no.
And I turn around and basically there's a fight breaking out.
Oh, no.
And I was like, what the... And then I rush over there, and one of the team coaches also rushes over there, and we get the party split apart and separated them. And at this point in time, I think that the whole thing is probably because of the frustration that has been built up from losing the game, right? So, yeah, we just separate them and, well, go off to our different locker rooms and try to keep them separated, right? So, and then with this particular place where we're playing the game, the locker rooms is further away from the actual field of play, so you have to walk for a while. So I went up there, and then when I got up there, then the away team came to me and said, "Hey, do you know that the home team player just kicked our guy in the stomach?"
Oh my goodness.
And I was like, "What? He did what?" They said, "Yeah, he kicked it." And then they called the player out, and he pulled up his jersey to show me, and you could just see on his stomach like a clear boot imprint on his stomach.
No.
And the skin was all colored red, and there was even a little bit of bleeding at the bottom where one of the studs from the boot had made this impact. It's like,
wow.
Can you believe that?
No, that's not appropriate.
No, it is just like, I mean, what is going on? And what are some people thinking? I don't get it.
No, especially, I mean, they know fair play. It's frustrating, but, go hit a punching bag. Life isn't fair, and that's just the way the rules went.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't understand. I mean, well, we've seen also professional players do stupid things, and even in the World Cup final, the French captain Zinedine Zidane many years ago, he headbutted another player and was shown a red card in the middle of the World Cup final. So it happens there as well.
Right.
And not that it's in any excuse, right? I mean, violence is never okay. But I can see how, if you're playing for a lot of money or a very high prestige, I can sort of understand, not that violence is okay in any way, but I can understand the emotions might get high, right?
Right.
But here we're talking like an amateur league match. Like, it doesn't really matter if you win or lose. I mean, well, of course it does to your honor, but nobody's going to win any money, or nobody's going to, all of a sudden get into the major leagues because you win or lose this match. So in that sense, it doesn't matter, right?
No.
I don't know. I just don't get it. Sometimes people weird.
Yeah. Yeah. It's what I used to tell my employees when I had a field office and I was the boss, and I would tell them, look, you can tell me anything unless it's life, death, or world peace. I'm not going to get worked up. Just tell me. I totally am way too calm, I think, about things. But those are my 3 points. Unless it's life and death or world peace, I ain't gonna get excited, so it's fine. Just tell me. So I don't get these players either, unfortunately.
No. So that was my referee story. I think
that's...
sometimes when crazy things happens, then usually people like to hear my stories, but I don't know if the listeners do. If they don't, then let us know if you don't like my stories. But otherwise, I'll assume that you like them, because normally when we at like family parties or dinner things or whatever, people usually like to hear those stories.
Oh, yes. I think it's very entertaining. So hopefully they like it too, because I don't want you to stop. Otherwise, we'll have to talk more offline.
I guess so, yeah. But how are things with you then?
Good. I think I'm in week 3 of on my own and being a single parent to my small dogs, but things are good. Yeah. Husband is finally turning back towards the east, so I expect to see him within the next 10 days or so.
10 days.
He's got 2,000 plus miles to drive back through COVID. This is his own odyssey. You could write a whole novel on just this little trip through everything. So I'm looking forward to it, and it's nice to know he's getting a little bit closer every single day. But definitely been just getting my work done. But I did realize, because getting work done, I finally updated my website, which means I added the books we just published this summer to my website, which was excellent. And this whole time, I thought those books were 17, 18, and 19. And the book I'm writing now, the series I'm writing now, is 20, 21, and 22. And I was kind of thinking, oh my gosh, my 20th book. I am so excited. I'm going to break out the good scotch. I'm going to have a little, party, and it'll be, if it's virtual, I'm so excited to think when I release book 20. And guess what I realized when I counted up the books on my website?
That you were already above 20.
Yeah. The books we published this summer are 18, 19, and 20. I'm like, what? I've got 20 books.
You missed it.
And I didn't even know. Oh, I can't believe I miscounted my own books. That's embarrassing. I mean, I know I'm kind of low-key and calm, but I thought I knew how to count.
Well, yeah. Well, it's been many years since you and I went to school, so maybe we forgot how to count.
Yes. So anyway, at least I know I have book 21 written. I'm working on 22, and 23 is slowly coming together and plotting. But just fine. When I release it, I'll party anyway.
Yes, you should.
A week on the internet with the AmWritingFantasy podcast.
So last week I set up a very special giveaway on Patreon. And I'm thinking maybe you could start out, Autumn, by just explaining how far we come with the world building course, because then I will cover how that actually ties into the giveaway that I want to mention.
That sounds good. All the modules are recorded. I don't know if anyone follows me on Instagram. They probably saw the post that showed, hey, this isn't a writing post. This is something else on my computer as I uploaded the final modules. And also, I did celebrate that. I at least danced around the cabin to some music and had some rum. So, parties did ensue. But it's been such a journey working on this course to finally have the modules recorded. And as we speak, well, not right now, but this week, I have been working on getting the website built, and that's over half done. So we are so close to having this full course finally, at long last, complete.
Finally, it's like 2 years later or something.
It is. We bit off a world. It took a lot longer than 7 days, but it's amazing what is in this course, and it does always astound me when I look through everything, as I've been doing while uploading all the videos. So it is very exciting to see it come together, and it's such an awesome course.
Yeah, so more on that course in the future. But why I wanted to get Autumn to just say all that was to explain the special giveaway that we are going to run on Patreon. So we've decided to give away a golden ticket to the world building course, meaning that there is a chance to win completely free access.
What's really exciting about this is that it's going to be a limited release. So this is really a golden ticket. This is like exclusive. Not everyone. This is not going to be a wide open entrance either. It's going to be gated. So this is really, really a golden ticket.
Yeah, exactly. Because we would like to basically give access to just a few people at first to the course, because we want to, well, both hear their feedback and such, but we also would like to get some testimonials from those people that we give access to in the beginning. So there is a chance that you can become a part of that exclusive team for free. But there is more, because we always have to sweeten the deal, right?
Oh, absolutely. Everyone's got to win. We are so nice that way.
Yeah, exactly. Because the golden ticket is a draw, meaning that only one person will win. But we are going to give something to everyone. And that also includes all our existing Patreon supporters, because, yeah, we just appreciate you guys and girls so much. So We're going to give everybody something. So basically, everyone who signs up to become a Patreon supporter and everyone who is already a supporter will be given access to either, well, it could be a free video course module, or perhaps we're going to run it as a webinar and then record it. We haven't quite made up our mind on that. But what it will be about is what we call the reader's journey.
Yes.
So this is basically how you can use paid advertising to warm up your audience over several different steps. And then hopefully, of course, get them to buy something at you.
That's right. I think so. It's such a cool webinar topic as well. And everyone will benefit from that. So this will be excellent. And we still have to work out a few of the kinks, but I know we will.
Yeah. So every Patreon supporter, new or old, will get access to that video course module or webinar, whatever, if we decide one or the other, but you'll get that for free. So if that sounds good to you, you can just follow the link to Patreon in the show notes. It might not say anything about the special giveaway just yet, but as I just explained, all existing patrons will automatically be part of the giveaway. So if you want to make sure you don't forget about it, then head on over and sign up right away. For as little as $1, you can be part of this giveaway. So I would say that's a pretty good deal, wouldn't you, Autumn?
Yeah, I was going to say, if you could win this course on $1, holy crap, that would be such a wonderful deal. I'm quite jealous. I just want to receive it and not have to have built it, but that's okay. It'll be fantastic.
Yeah. Okay, anything else before we move into today's topic?
No, otherwise, I just wanted to say that the AmWriting Fantasy group on Facebook has been not only very active, but so supportive. I noticed that we had a new member who asked a question about, is it really possible to have a life and a job you actually enjoy and kids and also still write? And the last I checked was over 93 comments. And I know one of his was just like, I can't believe how, amazingly supportive you guys are. So that is just, I wish I could hug everyone there as well. That's, of course, COVID safely. So, but I just think that is just wonderful to see such encouragement among fellow fantasy authors. So if anyone else is looking for that type of support, come join us on Facebook. It actually does exist on Facebook.
And on to today's topic.
Okay, Autumn, I was thinking I could start us out by 2 quotes from famous writers to sort of set the scene a bit here.
Excellent.
And then maybe we can use that as a springboard to reflect upon today's topics.
Sounds perfect. I love it when you do the homework. Fantastic.
Yeah, I'm pretty good at that sometimes. Yeah, so let me start out with the first one is from Anne Rice. And I just like Anne Rice so much, and I love her books, especially the vampire ones. But so it goes like this, quote, "Writing is what makes a writer, nothing more and nothing less. Go where the pleasure is in your writing, go where the pain is. Write the book you would like to read. Write the book you have been trying to find but have not found. But write. And remember, there are no rules for our profession. Ignore rules." End quote.
Ooh, I love Anne Rice. That is a wonderful quote.
I think that's a good one. Let me just do the second one, and then we can just maybe do our reflections on these quotes here afterwards. So the second one is from the all-famous Stephen King. So he says, quote, "I like to get 10 pages a day, which amounts to 2,000 words. That's 180,000 words over a 3-month span, a goodish length for a book." End quote.
Very
in
Stephen
his book
King.
in his book on writing, Stephen King continues to give the advice that new writers should write 1,000 words every day, with 1 rest day per week. But what do you think about these quotes here, Autumn?
I loved how you got like totally opposite ends. You have Anne Rice saying, write, what is in your soul, what it is that you are passionate about, and it doesn't matter how long it takes the journey to get there. And then you have Stephen King of very succinctly saying, basically, write 10 pages, 1,000 words a day. Just do it. Doesn't matter what. So those are, that's definitely even what I've been thinking about recently. I mean, I am a big proponent of goals, having goals. I try to do weekly goals, but I have recently, now that I have Scrivener and it lets you put in a daily word count goal, I've adjusted to that. So my weekly goal has gone to a daily writing goal. And I've noticed a change in my writing that I've only recently, I think, finally managed to adjust back to where I wanted it. And that's been a long journey of 20 books to get back to there. So I think just what Anne Rice said to me, that's the true model. There are no rules to this. there are things you can try out and try on for size, but you need to do so to see if they fit. And they might not fit, and you have to be willing to try something else if it doesn't. If you find out it's been a little too tight, a little too loose, just not your style.
Yeah, but I also actually saw some overlap between the two quotes here, even though they are different. Because I think Anne Rice is also saying that writing is what makes a writer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it goes without saying that if we don't write, I guess this could be argued as well, but if we don't write, we're not going to publish anything. And if we don't publish anything, then, I guess we could discuss that, but what are we then,
Yeah.
If you're just writing as a hobby, are you then a writer? Or do you have to publish that? I know that's a completely different rabbit hole, and I don't want to go there right now.
That's a whole different podcast.
Yeah. Not that there's anything wrong with either or, but of course, if you want to make an income, at least we could say, then you have to write, and you have to continue to write. And that's the same thing Stephen King says, right? He says that you have to write in order to become a writer or be a writer. But I'm thinking then the fact that he wants new writers to set a daily word count, I like the part at least about that where it sort of forces them to set a goal and strive to achieve that goal.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's important because at the end of the day, a lot of this is also about building up a habit of writing. And if having a daily word count is what helps you build up a habit of writing, then I think that's a pretty good thing.
Definitely. I mean, definitely. But to me, it's the 1,000 words a day. I mean, that is actually my daily goal in Scrivener. And usually there's days I'm blasting past it. And it's like, well, especially if I've woken up at 4 a.m. and because my characters are talking to me, I can have 1,000 words done before 8 a.m. Not a problem. But there's days, that I'm not. There's times I've actually realized, to me, it's important to map out your productivity, not only in your times of like, when are you most productive and most creative during the day, but when are you the most verbose? When are you really, like, the story is just gelling and you can churn out 3,000 words if you can sit down for enough time? And when are there times that your book is maybe, if you're pushing 250 words and you're doing a bit of plotting, that's perfect. And I've written enough books now that I know my scale, I know my graph of when I'm going to have my word count go up, when it's not going to be that much, when plotting is more important. So 1,000 words as a newbie is heavy. Yeah, that's a lot. I think, if you're starting out and you're just trying to make a goal, 250, 100, you have to write. You do have to write, even if it's a sentence. I know there's been times in my life, and that's why I liked having a weekly goal where I knew, because I was a manager, I had a field office, I had nighttime meetings, I would have to be in early, I'd be out in the field, I'd be reprimanding people, whatever. If I got a sentence down, I was like, yes, I scored today, I got 7 words out. And there were times that, Saturday morning it was quiet, I had 3 hours, off you go. That was fine. So I just can't agree. I love Stephen King. I used to live in Maine. I used to joke he's my neighbor, but he was never my neighbor. But 1,000 words is a lot for a newbie. I think that's kind of tough.
Yeah, and I think as well as an alternative to word count, just to maybe add that on to it, is you could also look at word or time slots instead of word counts.
Mm-hmm.
I have worked with word counts, but I've also worked with time slots. And for example, if you maybe you're very busy, like you were just saying, you could also be that you're one of those people who just get really distracted by the internet. So every time you sit at the computer, it's like, oh, look at that YouTube video. That looks interesting. Yeah, that could also be the case, right? But no matter what it is, rather than maybe word count, you could say, how much time can I dedicate a day to writing?
Right.
And if that's 15 minutes, fine. If it's 30 minutes, better. But whatever you can devote that time and say, okay, I'm going to write there. And I don't know if you need to pull out the cable to the internet router, then do that during that slot.
Turn your computer off Wi-Fi mode. Yes.
Yeah, something. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then just write whatever you can. If you get 50 words, then you got 50 words, and that's fine. I think we just need to be careful not to get too hung up on, I need to write 1,000 words a day, and especially when we're just starting out, because you so easily get into self-blame and guilting yourself for not achieving what you wanted to achieve, and then, well, I guess I should write 2,000 words tomorrow then, and then you're even more stressed. So I don't know, like we said just a moment ago, right? I think it's about building up the habit of writing, and however you do that, it doesn't necessarily have to be with a word count. I don't think so.
I agree. I mean, to me, I think the most important part is just setting aside time, writing time. I mean, when I had the full-time job, it was when I, came home, greeted my husband, got tea, and I would write. I would have 45 minutes. I would have, even now when it's the morning and things are going well, no matter what time I got up, that time is flexible. But there's a certain point where it's like, okay, I have got to go have breakfast. I've got to put this away. I've got other things to do today, and that is my cutoff time. And I think that's important. And another version it's like word count, but if you're a little softer, chapter count. I used to have just a chapter count, like maybe 3 chapters a week. It didn't matter how I filled that in during my writing time, but if I hit that goal, it seemed a little bit easier to have a week-long goal and a set time, and to just try for it, because it was pretty easy, and I always tried to make it achievable. And I think figuring out what is achievable for you, to put some time aside every day, maybe a day off. I kind of like that with Stephen King. That's kind of cute. I don't think I try not to take a day off no matter what. Even my days off, I'm still writing in the morning. I don't care. But it's a good thing to figure out what is an achievable word count for you. Some people, I know one woman who's writing 5,000 words a day. I know some people, if they're happy, they can get a page, so 250 words a day. It shows progress. Keeping progress going is really the idea. Sitting down and doing it is the idea. But you're going to have to write and experiment and find out what fits your life, so that you're not the hermit locked in the study, never seeing your family. And, that's not a good feeling either, just to hit a goal for something that you should feel passionate about. You shouldn't be missing life because you want to write 1,000 words today. You should also get to walk the dog, something, spend time with your family. That's why you have them.
Yeah. The chapter goal that you mentioned, that's actually how I do it nowadays. Yeah. Well, first of all, I don't have daily word counts anymore because, between the AmWritingFantasy podcast recording here, doing courses and all kinds of other things, I don't write every day. I work every day on our business, but it's different things. Sometimes I'm, course building, or today we're recording podcasts, and I've been preparing some slides for one of our courses as well this morning. So I'm always working on our business and the author parts of my life. But I just don't. Well, in the beginning, when I wrote my first novel, I actually had a daily word count set in Scrivener. Yeah. I think, if I remember correctly, it might have been 1,200 words or something like that.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, well, I got up at 4:30 in the morning and wrote for a couple of hours, and I did that for like 2 years or something. So it's doable, but of course, I fully agree with what you say. You have to think about something that works for you. If you feel like it's slave labor to do your writing every day because you set so tough goals on yourself, then you're going to burn out on it. So that is not worth it. But for myself at least, I like to just set myself some goals, and then work towards those. For example, I could say, indeed, this week every week I'm going to complete 3 chapters, for example. And then I also know my creative work I have to do in the first half of the day. Usually I prefer to do them in the morning because then I can do my creative work there, whereas in the afternoon, or well, I guess almost just after lunchtime, I'm already a bit tired. But all the marketing stuff, I can do that on autopilot almost. So I can do that easily in the afternoon, whereas the creative work I have to do in the morning. So I just think the main thing is that you get your butt in the seat and you put your fingers on the keyboard and you get productive. But how you do that, if you do that via daily word count, or if you do it with more like weekly goals, more like I do, or we also like our to-do lists, don't we?
Yes, you and I are alike on to-do lists, which is awesome because it makes life easier. But but even adding, for me, sometimes I used to have just a little note on my iPad back when I was writing on an iPad with an external keyboard, and it would just be like, just a little checkbox, 3 chapters this week, and that was my reminder, and that's all I needed to remind myself that this is something you need to do, you need to take seriously, because sometimes putting it on your to-do list sometimes it's going on social media and saying I'm going to do this, whatever it takes to give you maybe that pressure if you need it. But you also can't give yourself so much pressure that you hate it, but you also need to be responsible and not spend all your time on social media saying how much you should be writing. That's too much of a cliche. Don't do that.
Yeah, I think to some degree we could compare it to, if let's say you want to build your muscles and you sign up for a gym membership, and then you only go to the gym once a week. I mean, well, that's good. It's better than 0, right? But you're not going to build up your muscles.
No.
Not for one time a week.
No.
You have to be much more consistent. And writing is a muscle in exactly the same way that you have to repeatedly exercise your writing skills, and then you will become better. But you do not become better by, let's say, writing half an hour every Friday morning, for example. It's just not enough.
No.
But at the same time, it's sort of this balance you have to walk, right? Because on one hand, it shouldn't be so much that you get stressed out about it and it feels overwhelming. But on the other hand, it cannot be so, let's say, rare. And I in this case, I categorize one time a week as rare. Yes. But it cannot be that rare as well that you don't build up that momentum and you get to learn, right? So
that's correct. Yeah.
Well, at least in the beginning, that might be difficult, but you have to. Maybe you could just watch one Netflix show less a day or something.
Yes. Something. I mean, I remember that was advice recently I remember giving to an author that, they said they only like to write when they're inspired. And I think that's great. Inspiration is a wonderful thing, but I think using the same terms you were just doing, writing is a muscle. So if you only wait till you're inspired, you're always going to be basically a little flabby. But if you are exercising, if you're proficient in it and that inspiration hits, how much further are you going to be? How much better is what you're going to write going to be when you're inspired? If you made it through those bits that are uninspiring, and in any novel, in any novella, even a short story, you're going to hit stretches where you're like, oh, geez, you got to sit down and just simply push through. And that is an important thing. But yeah, exactly. If you're not exercising it, if you cannot make use of that energy when it comes, so that you can channel it and create something big and really boost yourself towards an end goal, then you're not always going to be kind of just churning along. And at least hopefully you'll be churning, but it'll be a very slow pace, and it'll be so much easier to have their steam run out, and you'll never get to that end goal.
Yeah, and I'm just sitting here thinking that maybe we should say what people don't want to hear as well.
That they have to have a goal, that they have to be writing every day, or?
Well, it's just like, if you want to take your writing serious, you cannot come up with excuses like, I don't feel inspired today, so I'm not gonna. I mean, writing is, and this is the part that nobody wants to hear, right? If you want to be serious about it, it is a job.
It is.
And you cannot turn up to your day job, for example, and tell your manager, I don't feel inspired today, so I'll come back tomorrow. I mean,
you can't?
That's not how it works. No, I don't think you'll last very long in that company. If you
Probably
do that. Not. But the point is just that like any job, you will have times during your writing where it feels a bit like, I know it's a bit tough going today. I don't really feel like it, but you just have to push through it.
Yeah.
For me, especially in the middle of a novel, that's where I find it hardest.
Yeah.
Because the exciting beginnings are over with, and I'm looking forward to get to the ending, where and then the middle is a bit like, okay, there's still a long way to go, but I already feel like I've been at it for a long time as well, right? So
right.
It's the toughest part. I guess it's like when you run a marathon. I could guess I've not tried that, but I could guess in the middle, you're also a bit like, oh my God, there's a long way yet.
Oh, and I think it's funny because we've had a conversation between even you and Jade. You both had said book 2 was the hardest, and the middles are the hardest to write. And to me, it's the beginning, the first book, and the first third of a book. That's when my word count is lower. I'm spending a lot more time plotting and outlining. Even though I think I have it plotted, I realize I don't have it plotted. And I'm so, it's 50-50 writing and plotting and coming up with ideas. But once I just hit chapter 10 in what I'm writing now, and it's fine. It's, I don't even notice the word count goal, except to say I passed it already. So I probably should up it, but it's just, I don't bother. To me, it's nice to have something standard and see how much higher I can get. And then there's days that something happens and I don't quite make it. But I did notice that having a word count has affected some of my writing, but you had something to say, so I'll let you go first.
No, it's just an annoying comment that I thought about. I was just about to say, if only you had written a guidebook on how to plot a beginning of a novel, Autumn, then you could read that guidebook and you wouldn't have that problem anymore.
I know. Wouldn't that be funny? I do. I just a little bit more of a hybrid when I'm on my own.
I know.
Once the characters start talking to me, like I said this last week, I've been up at 4:30, and 5:30 on 3 different days. The day in between, I would always hit sleep in until 6:30, but the other days, I just, the characters are actually talking in my head, and I'm like, I'm getting up, I'm gonna go write. I don't care that it's 4 a.m. I'm alone in my cabin, and I just have the dog who's like, I ain't getting up now. So I just go downstairs and have a lot of tea that day and get through it, and then sleep the next day, and then still just keep going. So the novel's going incredibly well, but I did notice that I do think having a word count goal that I've now started pretty much ignoring is a good thing that I'm ignoring it, because I think I'm very task oriented, and I know that about myself. I like finishing tasks just for the sake of finishing a task and marking it off, and that's the only reward I really need, except for forcing myself occasionally to have a celebration when I hit a milestone. But I've noticed that sometimes just trying to reach that goal, that I'll put my butt in the chair and I will sit down and I will write, even when it's not going well. And my writing was lacking something that recently I managed to get back, where instead of just racing through themes to get scenes, to get, the chapter done, hit my goal, whatever it is, just trying to get everything done, I'm kind of relaxing into it. And it reminds me of writing my first book when I didn't know anything and I didn't care about when I finished it. I was just writing because I love words. I love words so much. I love wordplay. I love literature. And so I'm just enjoying using words and developing these scenes and really spending time with my characters. And that's, they're getting me up at 4 a.m. So I'm obviously spending a lot of time with them. And by doing that, by allowing myself to slow down and settle into these scenes, I've had to add a couple of extra chapters that I hadn't planned on, because scenes are taking a little longer, but they have so much more depth, so much more impact, so much more character development. And I also realized, I looked down at my word count, I'm like, holy crap, I'm at 2,300, 2,500 words. I've got to start thinking, is this a chapter break coming up? I'm zooming past my word count goals by almost ignoring them, by doing what feels right, by following Anne Rice's advice and just doing it for the sheer love of what I'm writing. And that feels pretty darn good.
Yeah, and don't you think as well, I mean, at least I've noticed, as those times where I just kind of push through, even though on that day I might not feel like it, I noticed that when I come back to that writing a day or 2 or 3 later, it is not bad at all.
Oh, usually
it's just when you're in the moment there, it feels like, oh, I'm not in the mood, I'm not inspired, it doesn't gel with me today, this is bad writing. And then when I come back to it, it's not. It's actually pretty good.
Yeah, it's usually, when I do my content edit, I can usually see those chapters where I push through and I'll write myself a note like, add more description or add this, whatever is missing. But it's usually decent. I mean, it's not like I'm ever cutting it from the novel because I am enough of a plotter that I know it needs to be there. It just might need to be added to, developed a little bit more. But if you don't do it, if you don't put those words down, even on the bad days, you have nothing to edit. So just put the words down. They're not going to be as bad as you think. If you're a plotter, at least you know they're supposed to be there. You'll just have to add in maybe some more adjectives or some more dialogue. Just take off the roughness and bring out the shine. And it's there. It is there, even on the bad days, because you've been exercising your writing muscle. You know what you're doing. You're proficient at it. Even on the bad days, you're still at least hitting the above average. And on the awesome days, you know what? You're up there with the best of them, and that feels really good.
Yeah. So I think I've sort of have arrived at a takeaway from this whole conversation, but excellent. I don't know if you're ready for that yet.
Yes, I think, we're hitting our mark, so I feel ready for having you boil this whole 40 minutes down.
Yeah, I think above everything else, I think this really comes down to is don't give up.
Yeah.
If setting a daily word count works for you, then set a daily word count. If you don't have time to write 1,000 words every day, start smaller. No. Perhaps you can do 300 words a day, because 300 words, that's still a 100,000 word fantasy novel in about a year.
Yeah.
So
and you might
I don't know.
Up.
Yeah, but I really want to push back on the whole, if you want to be successful, you have to write all the time and release a novel every month. Like it is, that sort of thing goes around, Yes, I've heard it multiple times, and I don't like it.
No, I don't like it either. I mean, we've obviously just released 3 nonfiction books, but since I haven't released a fantasy novel in over a year, and what I released last year were 2 novellas to 2 new series that I'm only just writing. I won't release the trilogy until it's completely written. So, readers are still following me. I'm still getting encouragement. They're responding to my emails. I get emails normally daily, so they haven't gone away. You don't have to release a novel a year. You just have to be communicative and sharing and let them be on the journey with you, because a good novel might take a year. It might take 6 months. You'll figure it out once you hit your stride. But I agree. Just keep going. Yeah. Don't give up.
Yeah, I'm also completely on board with. It's been a while, but I heard at some point Joanna Penn said that the whole model about rapid releasing and releasing a new novel every month. She just said, I'm not gonna try to get onto that treadmill because I don't want to be there.
No, it'd be exhausting.
And I really like that, because it's like there are so many people getting stressed out by the high pressure that they hear on social media, mm-hmm. and maybe also, I don't know, maybe also on podcasts, or maybe other authors giving advice that, just make sure you write enough books and you release stuff all the time, then, the algorithm on Amazon will favor you. And while there's truth to that, it doesn't bring any good if you feel so much pressure that you have to write every day, that all your love for writing goes away, because it just becomes one big slog, right? I have to write 10,000 words every day because otherwise I can't keep up with the competition. And I just like I'm just going to ignore that treadmill altogether kind of attitude that Joanna Penn had there.
I agree. I think as much as I tried for a little while to be a little faster, but now that I think you lose finding your author voice if you don't give yourself some time to mature and find your author voice and find your passion for it. I mean, you should write every day, but you should also take the time to find out what it is you write and why it is you write and what you're passionate about writing. And you want to be Neil Gaiman. You want to be known for what you write, not that you write a book a month. So think about what it is that you want to be known for. Is it a book a month, that you're the author who always hits a book a month no matter what you're turning out? Or is it the fact that you've created something that is Neil Gaiman-ish. I don't know how long it takes him to write a book, but I know he's not worried about getting it out in the next month.
No, well, I guess to some extent we can't compare ourselves. George R. R. Martin is probably the most famous example of all of this, right?
I wasn't going to go there, but yeah.
No, but I can't help myself,
Oh, I know. But no, we might not hit that category, but it's still...
No. We can't compare with that either because, these guys have so much money that they don't even have to write if they don't want to, right? But for the rest of us mortal people, we have to think about this kind of thing. But above all, I think long-term view, that's what you need to take instead. Make sure you prioritize writing, but please don't let it take over your life. So, all right, next Monday, I should have a very interesting interview lined up for you, and I can say that it involves world building in part, at least. That's always a great
If you like what you just heard, there's a few things you can do to support the AmWriting Fantasy Podcast. Please tell a fellow author about the show and visit us at Apple Podcast and leave a rating and review. You can also join Autumn and Jesper on patreon.com/AmWritingFantasy. For as little as $1 a month, you'll get awesome rewards and keep the AmWriting Fantasy Podcast going. Stay safe out there and see you next Monday.